Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to the last segment of Youth Matters, where we're discussing what are the reasons why a lot of students, a lot of our children underachieve in life. Now, Abraham Lincoln once said, my great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. Okay, so that is that's almost a statement that I read out to our youth, watching this at home. How do you feel about that? If you haven't achieved, okay, how has that shaped you as a person? Has that motivated you to try and do even better? Or has that kind of pulled you down? And once again, it's anonymous. No one knows who you are when you phone in. So please phone in and share your views. Parents, we want you to be involved in this last segment and really tell us, what are the success stories? What are the things other parents need to be doing to help their children? Alhamdulillah, আমরা last segment আমরা sayলাম জানতাম আপনারা গেছেন আমরা মা বাপ আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনের কি জিনিস করলে পড়ালেখাত লাইফের মাঝে আমরা হুরুতাইতে বালা করবা সো আমরা মাফ যে দেখরা আপনারা যার হুরুতাইতে বালা করছেন আপনারা কি করছেন কি জিনিস একটা মানে আমরা হুরুতাইতে সাহায্য করবার দায় আমরা কত বইনাতে টেলিফোন করে কইছেন মাশাআল্লাহ আপনারা প্লিজ গরাউকা শরীকৌকা সো Tanvir, now we're looking at obviously our students and how to try and inspire, empower our youth. Okay, now what do you think? What would you, if you had to pinpoint, an area, a reason why our students don't always achieve? Okay, we spoke about disengagement. What do you think is the key? Which stakeholder, okay, out of parents, say friends, say family members, outside friends, okay, which stakeholder would you hold most responsible to try and ensure that a student or a person is successful?
I'd say all of them are important, parents, teachers and friends, all three are important, but I'd start with friends at the bottom, teachers in the middle.
Yeah,
and
you don't think peer pressure plays as big of a role?
Oh, I think it plays a significant role, but trouble start at home, in my opinion. I think trouble start at home, so I think parents go right at the top of the pyramid. And what happens with parents is that the main stakeholder with parents is they need to find a balance for their kids. Like as in, when you grow a flower, we've got to give it three things like sunlight, we've got to give it manure for food, and we've got to give it water. Those are three things we give. If you give too much water, then it's not going to work. If you give too much of this and not give that, it's all going to it's not going to work. You have to give the perfect balance of water, sunlight, and food. And this is the same thing the parents got to apply to their children. That's the main stakeholder. It's the balance of all the aspects of life. You've got to give a bit of fun time, you've got to give a bit of hard time, you've got a revision time, you've got to give a bit of advice. It's a mix of all this, and that's the main stakeholder. It's the balance that the parents give that's at play.
MashaAllah. Beautiful analogy, Masood Bhai, Tanvir has just shared with us. Now, where do you think, which one of those do you think our parents fail in most?
I think some parents
because we all want to shower our kids. We want the best for our children.
I think generally speaking, most parents, when they start off, they want to do well. And I've been in the field of social work, in fact, for nearly 30 years. But one of the things nowadays, my newfound passion is doing motivational public speaking, and that includes speaking to parents. And in fact, just yesterday I was talking to an audience of about 1,000 people. Okay. And one of the things I said is that you have to be thoughtful. You have to be thoughtful about what you do, how you come across as a parent, as a carer, as a child, whatever, you have to be really concerned about what's the effect. So there's a saying that you begin with the end in mind. What's going to be the effect of the action that you're taking? A lot of the time as parents, what we do is emotional, kind of reactionary things. We just want to do the right thing because we can't tolerate what's going on. But the better thing, or the better approach, is to be a bit more thoughtful, a bit more methodical, think what's going to be the consequences, so think a bit long term. And that's where I think our parents often find it difficult. They're very quick. Like for example, social workers often get involved and they end up removing children from parents for sometimes for reasons that could have been avoided, and that is to do with discipline. My colleague earlier spoke about discipline, but a lot of the time parents get it wrong. They want to be setting some boundaries. Yes, that's very, very important. You want to set some limitation. You can't be free for all and just everything goes. Just because your child wants something, obviously they want something, but whatever they think is important. But you have to be the judge and you have to decide what they can and what they can't have, because you're thinking about their welfare, what is best for them.
Thank you. Tanvir, what do you think? Tanvir spoke about peer pressure, spoke about, you know, other things that, you know, parents playing a big part. What other, you know, which other stakeholder plays a very crucial part? How do you think, you know, friends, because sometimes you might have the best of friends at school, okay, but when you come home, some of the friends in your area might not be the best influence. How do you think, because we have a lot of, you know, in our community, locally, nationally, even globally, there's a lot of gang violence and stuff like that. So how much does that external group of friends away from school play a part, do you think? Especially summertime now, where students aren't going to school, so they've got a lot of free time. So in your view?
Well, it's a lot of the times as it's kind of getting repetitive, but it's true. A lot of times it's down to the person themselves and how they are as their characteristics. Some people are extremely easily influenced, so if they see someone who they somewhat admire or they like as a friend, and if they start doing anything that's either good or bad, they'll follow suit because either they've known them a long time, or maybe that friend is really pushy, or maybe they themselves just don't have they don't have the willpower to resist, and they're thinking to themselves, oh, I'm young, it's harmless fun. A lot of the time it can be somewhat harmless fun, right? But unfortunately it does get to a point where it can start affecting your studies a lot, especially if those group of friends outside of school aren't exactly the most
best role models.
Best role models, yeah.
Okay, Tanvi, tell me this. Because there are parents at home who are thinking, no, that wouldn't happen to my child. My child is, you know, strong-willed, you know, they've got a strong personality that they might show at home. But as we all know, you know, we have friends and sometimes we play different roles when we're within different circles. Now, what advice can we give to our parents, you know, so that they can understand the dynamics that work when people are with their friends, like the other Tanvir was saying?
I think parents need to realize that your kids, it's always parents saying it's not going to happen to my child. It's always that. It's always the case with bad things that happen in life. But parents need to realize that when you're young, children will have secrets. They'll always have secrets. They'll always have something going on, that's something that their parents might not know about, no matter how good or bad you think your child is. So first thing I'd say to parents is accept that reality. Accept that reality that they have a different social life when they're not around you and stuff like that. So what I really suggest, a practical advice, is that parents need to find out who are their children talking to, who are their friends, and do they have good friends? Parents, they should ask their children if they can see their phones. They shouldn't be hiding anything. They shouldn't be hiding anything like they shouldn't be hiding much.
What you're saying is, you know, we should have a culture where parents can go through the phones of their child.
Well, there's a limit. I mean, I'm not saying outright go and demand that you look for the phone, but the parents need to create an atmosphere with their children where the children themselves will be comfortable showing their parents their phones. The parents need to raise them in a comfortable environment so they don't feel their parents as confrontational.
Okay, we'll carry on with that discussion. Masuba, we've got a person, we've got a person on the line. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, what a brilliant program you guys are doing, and want to just put my opinion forward. Yes, parents are obviously the most important person to a student and to the youth, but from my point of view, from going through education and things like that, I realized how sometimes they put a benchmark on you, and when you don't meet it, a certain expectation, you slip up. The support is not there afterwards. Now it's good when the child achieves and everyone's happy, everyone's having a party, everyone decides to be supporting them. But when the child actually trips up and needs the help, then no one's there.
Do you feel? Is this something that is quite common from your experience amongst your friends, that only when it's it's going well that parents support, and sometimes when it's during the tough times that
it is a common thing, but what it is the parents decide, especially in the Bengali community, they keep comparing you to cousins and relatives who's done better than you, but they never actually highlight the fact that, you know what, you've done well, you've tried your best, and you know what, there's nothing you can do.
Thank you.
Sometimes, you know, it's just not your luck.
Sure.
But once we trip up, parents tend to, you know, give you the cold shoulder or something like that. That's what I wanted to put through, and how, you know, that doesn't really help the child. Actually, you know.
How from your experience, it seems to me, you know, how does it make you feel when, you know, you've tripped up and your parents give you that cold shoulder? How does that feel?
Can you just repeat that? I couldn't really hear you.
How does it feel when a parent gives the child that cold shoulder? Have you experienced that, and how did it make you feel?
Obviously, you know what, I've just graduated recently, and the stress you go through from year 7 till the point where you graduate is up and down. It's like a roller coaster journey. Now, when you get the cold shoulder when you're coming home, you know what? It's the last thing you want. It's the last thing. You have a bad day at school after you get your results, or you have a bad day at uni after getting your results, and then it just don't help. It's just the last thing a child should go through.
Sure. And last question: would you be comfortable for your parents to look through your phone?
Of course, I've got nothing to hide. I've always tried to make my parents happy.
Okay.
So if they were to decide to look through my phone, it's up to them.
Okay. So thank you very much, caller, for calling. If the parents are watching, test that theory. See if your son will allow you to go through his phone, and let us know. Okay. Masood bhai, the caller made some brilliant points. One of the points he was saying was in the Bengali community. Okay, the cold shoulder tends to happen. From your, 30 years, mashallah, of social work experience, is that the case? Or is it just our Bengali community that does that, or have you experienced it in other communities?
The brother who's calling, he knows the Bengali community better. He probably has personal experience of that, so he has some authority to speak about the Bengali community. As someone who has worked across communities, all communities in fact, and I also, sort of lecture American universities and various other places. One of the things I found is that these are common themes across all communities. All right, there is no one community.
Parents don't want their children to do bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter which background you come from.
Generally speaking, want their children to do well. However, there are ways of responding, and I think one of the brilliant points he made was about celebrating achievements, but when people fail, then we go cold and we give them the cold shoulder. And that is something we all need to grasp and accept reality, that not everybody is going to be successful first time round. It's like going for a driving test. You might fail first time, second time, third time, or whatever. It doesn't mean, you're incapable of passing a driving test. Some people go through driving tests for years and years, and eventually they pass. So the point I'm coming across is that especially at this time, because I think next week the A-level results are coming out.
And the GCSE
and
the
a lot
following
of
week.
these youngsters, teenagers, they'll be very anxious. And my message to you is that, don't give up hope. Even, alhamdulillah, be thankful if your results are brilliant and, you've expected A stars and you got A stars and whatever. But at the same time, the reality is that in life, sometimes we fail. But we fail.
I guess it's
and then we pick ourselves up.
It's how you react from that.
There is a saying that you fail your way through to success.
Mashallah.
So, if you fail, if you don't do well, it doesn't matter. Look at me. I came to this country at the age of 12. I couldn't speak a word of English, and now I speak all over the world. And it hasn't stopped me. Academically, I wasn't brilliant, but eventually, when I got the opportunities, I've managed to go to university, get several degrees, and so on, and it hasn't stopped me. So if I can do it, what I would say is
Thank you for that inspiring story,
don't give up.
Not to give up. Tanvi, tell me this. How does it make you feel? Have you been in a situation where your parents have said, your cousins have done exceptionally well, like the caller said? How does that actually feel when you hear that? Do you cringe inside? Do you think, why are you comparing me?
I don't want to say that my mom and dad are like the best people ever, but like I never really got in.
Have they done that? There's nothing.
Not really. I've never. They have given me the cold shoulder though. Especially also my elder sister who is much older than me, and she's almost like a second parent for me. Also my other older sister, she's like a third parent, a fourth parent. And I've gotten the cold shoulder from all of them, but a lot of people, all the time when the kids get the cold shoulder, like, oh, I really want my mom and dad to support me in this moment. But they have to think that it's always the parents' fault. You gotta look at yourself and think, why am I getting the cold shoulder? A lot of times when my mom, dad, sisters gave me the cold shoulder was, I actually deserved it. I was just slacking. I didn't study hard enough. Maybe I got too cocky on an exam and thought, yeah, I can do this without really studying. It's happened to me a lot of times. Not a lot, but a couple of times. And it's not always, oh, my mom and dad should always support me, or my sisters always support me when I'm down. Because sometimes that cold shoulder, like sometimes when they give me the cold shoulder, and they're just like, or even passive aggressive, it actually made me feel bad. Not that they were giving me that, they were giving me the attitude. It was, made me feel bad because I had to make them go through that. They went through the fact knowing that I spent money, time, and effort on my kid, and then he brings back a C, a D, or whatever. What's up? So that makes me feel bad because before that I'm thinking I was just all cocky and happy, right? And then I bring this home and
so you don't mind a cold shoulder?
Not always. There have been a few times where there's been a bit of a misunderstanding, and I got in the cold shoulder, right? And I got a little upset, quite a bit upset about that because I was trying to tell my parents what the whole situation was. There was quite a big misunderstanding, right? And especially my older sister, because my mom especially, she'll just be really disappointed in me, right? But my sister is the one who's more vocal about it, and she'll let me know, like, what are you're making mom and dad like really disappointed.
That's good. So I guess that's really interesting. Tammy, do you have older brothers and sisters?
I have an elder sister.
Okay, mashallah. And how, we've got brothers and sisters watching at home, young brothers and sisters. We've got people who are, elder siblings. How big of a role do they play? Because sometimes it is. Maybe the parents don't understand the culture, they don't understand the education system. How big of a role do they play?
In terms of my elder sister, she personally, she never she was she was kind of busy in her own education time to support me fully, so I fully understand that. But
she must have...
in general, I think elder sisters, elder brothers play a huge role because essentially they can set the benchmark, and which the children may or may not live up to, and that can either inspire the child or demotivate them. So it's essential what kind of behavior they have, what they do, and so I do think they play another significant part in the education process.
Masabay, we've got parents who are watching this, and maybe parents haven't actually thought that I need to sit down maybe with the elder sibling and get them to try and engage and be more involved with the education of, regardless of whether they've done their GCSE A levels or not, but just being a good positive role model. What do you see from your line of work? Do you feel that's something that we need to do more of?
Yeah, I think peer mentoring is what I would call it in my professional jargon. That's very important. So it doesn't have to be an older sibling, because not all families have older siblings, and you might be the older one. Like in my family, in this country, I'm the oldest.
Sure.
I have a sister who's in Bangladesh. She never came to this country. So I didn't have anybody to turn to in that sense. But it's important to keep yourself...
Who did you have to kind of...
I think I was very fortunate that I was surrounded by positive role models of young people. So my youth work involvement, and particularly I was involved in Islamic youth work. So the environment was safe. They were not pulling me towards anything un-Islamic or that would take me away from the path or so. So I was very lucky in that sense. But I strongly encourage parents to help their children to associate with children who are of their age or older if possible, who can be positive role models, but they need to be positive people, they need to be inspiring people, they need to be motivating people, because it's in Bangla there is a saying, Shongo dushe loha bashe jole, or something to that extent, meaning that your company can either pull you down or lift you up.
But Masud Bhai, say that's brilliant advice for children who operate in circles where their friends are successful. We might have parents who are watching this and thinking, well, my son, daughter does not hang around with successful or students that you might perceive to be seen as success. So in a situation like that, what do they do?
I think in those situations, you will always find circles, you'll always find some avenues. It could be a summer school, like for example, these few weeks, during the summer holiday, I've got 3 children, the 2 younger ones. One is 9, one is 15. They both were involved in some summer activities, involved with an organization that provided them with all kind of opportunities where they can demonstrate their talent, and
Brilliant.
both of them won awards and all that kind of stuff.
So-
So I'm really, you know,
taking advantage of some of the
I
opportunities
think what
out
you have
there.
to see is what's
Okay.
around in your community.
Brilliant.
Are you happy with that? Does it match with what you're trying to teach them? Because it doesn't all have to come from your home. If you haven't got, for example, a positive role model in your home, you can take them to a center, to a club, to an organization,
That's fine.
or you bring somebody into your home
That's fine,
and,
Mr.
and
Blair.
match them.
Thank you very much for that. Now, unfortunately, that's the end of the show. We've run out of time. Now, just to summarize really briefly, I think from the discussion, it's clear that it's not just our parents that are to blame if a child does not reach their goals or does not reach the heights that we want them to do. However, I think what's clear is everyone plays a role. And you know, whether you're a sibling, whether you're an older brother or not, you need to get involved. You need to support your parents. But at the same time, our parents, you know, you need to make sure that your child is also hanging around with the right people. They are not lazing around at school. And like the first sister said in the call, if it means taking annual leave or taking time out of your day-to-day schedule and making that sacrifice for your child, it will be worth it. So please, you know, do think about that. আমরা শোর মাঝে আলহামদুলিল্লাহ আজকে আমরা ডিসকাশন করছি কিলা আমরা সবসময় আমরা ইয়াং ভাই বোনেন তারা সাকসেসফুল হইন না লাইফ পড়ালেখার মাঝে আর সময় কম বাট আপনারা যদি জানি আপনারা হুরুতাইন লগে মাত হইন তারা কিছু জানতা চাইন তারা কি জিনিস কষ্ট পার আমরা যদি হুরুতাইনতে তারা বালা হইন না আপনারা জিকাউকা তারা লগে মাতৌকা so just to end, thank you for watching the show. You know, it's all about the youth matters. Do follow us on Facebook and email in as well, and inshallah we will see you very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.